just been told I've been fired. What they do when they tell us, they set a time, how long we're going to be somewhere, and then what they do is they close all the roads. The Secret Service does. And if you want to lose all support for the Coast Guard and no one will ever vote for me again, I better get the hell out of here.
Well, whatever the hell that meant. Remember they told us he was A-OK? Remember that? All right, folks, welcome back. Holiday season is upon us, which means there may be a handful of sleepy Joe Biden appearances in the coming weeks. One of those instances came yesterday, and, well, now you just heard how that went. What the hell was he saying? He didn't even know. Joey gave us plenty more to comment on, but let's first get into some rapid reactions. Well, folks, I know I'm very grateful that Donald Trump won the election and will be returning to power, as I'm sure many of you are. But we must never forget about the greatest political cover-up of all time, something that put our country in grave risk, in grave danger, and left the most powerful country in the world without a coherent commander-in-chief. That's right. I'm talking about Joe Biden, a man who's cognitively past his peak, to say the least. Old Joe got behind the microphone yesterday and reminded us all about the lies that the mainstream media allowed the power-hungry Democrats to tell us for the better part of the past 4 years.
And I'm anxious. I may not eat. I may come around the table and meet all your kids. Because everybody knows I like kids better than people.
Oh, my gosh. First of all, Joe, kids are people, remember. Second, nobody wants you anywhere near their children. We've proven that. Nobody's forgotten about the Halloween fiasco or the Easter Bunny. Remember those? We all remember just a few weeks ago, a delusional Joe Biden, for whatever reason, decided to go around the White House biting children, like physically biting. That's disgusting. You heard me right. It's not an AI. What you're watching right now is the sitting president of the United States, literally biting children. That's disgusting. This really happened right here in America. Needless to say, Joe Biden talking about his love for kids may not be the smartest thing to do right about now. Then again, he's got nothing to lose. He's a lame duck and he knows it. Biden's very public deterioration has completely destroyed our national security. It's a major problem and has been for some years, yet somehow there are still people living in America that think freedom of speech poses a bigger threat than that lunatic over there. I'd like to introduce you all to Joan Donovan. This creature has graciously titled herself Disinformation Researcher, and she, I think it's a she, has arrogantly given herself the power to determine what belongs all across the internet.
You can't run a platform at the whims of one man's decisions. And so I do think that it really creates a massive national security issue for every country that allows these platforms to persist without strict adherence to even enforcing their own terms of service.
Well, if this Joan is that upset about the internet, I wonder how she feels about making America healthy again. It's remarkable that these liberal overlords think they have the power to determine what we can and cannot see and say in a free society, in this free country. I agree, disinformation is a problem, but we get most of that from the left. That's exactly why the mainstream media is dying. Harris advisor David Plouffe just put a major myth to rest. Listen to David Plouffe completely expose Kamala Harris and her entire team as the frauds that we all suspected that they were, and now he proves it.
When we got in, my recollection is some of that snapped back, but, we were behind. I mean, I think it surprised people because there was these public polls that came out in late September, early October, showing us with leads that we never saw. It was just basically a race that in the battlegrounds was 46-47, 47-48. So that's not where we started. We started behind. She was able to climb out. I think even after the debate, we might have gained, 0.51. It wasn't a race that moved a lot.
Now, if you don't remember, David Plouffe, he's a smart guy. He was on Obama's team, very, very smart Democrat operative who really doesn't hold any punches. So basically, David Plouffe is confirming that the national media constantly lied to our faces nonstop. Kamala Harris never led Donald Trump in the battleground states at any point, yet poll after poll said differently. Remember all those polls? Oh, she's beating him now in Georgia. Bullshit. She wasn't beating him anywhere. $1 billion later and a plethora of lies later, this crazy woman never for one moment held even a marginal lead. Yet, the losers at MSNBC told all Trump supporters to be nervous. This is exactly why the 2024 election will be known as the official funeral of the corrupt legacy propaganda mainstream media. They lie, and now they're paying for it. Republicans weren't the only ones lied to about the status of Kamala's campaign. We can't forget about all the obsessed and oppressed liberal white women. Remember this? They were obsessed and oppressed. They felt horrible. Remember? They're still taking the election loss at heart. Some of these social justice warriors got together and went to Lake Michigan, where they screamed at the water in a sign of solidarity and protest against the election that they lost. Look at it there. These folks are the same people that wonder why they lost a crucial election in dominant fashion. I mean, let's think about it for a second. Didn't Tim Walz come out and basically become the vice presidential nominee because they said, we on the right were weird? We on the right were weird? Those folks are weird. Give me a break. These liberals, they've got nothing better to do than to bitch and moan about losing an election. Get a job. How about that? These freaks want us to believe that they're the most oppressed demographic in America. Yet, they have all the time in the world to go throw $300 puffer jackets on and go scream at a lake while the rest of us work. Respectfully, pound sand, folks. All right, folks, by the way, I just want to throw this in here. I've been talking about Goya since we launched. Goya, what a great company. I was just informed by Bobby Nonway, the CEO of Goya, that they made a massive, massive Thanksgiving donation to the people in the hurricane states, the victims in the hurricane states of these recent spate of two devastating hurricanes, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and other. Goya made a massive food donation to those people. Goya's amazing. In 2021, Goya launched Goya Cares, a global initiative to protect children and educate children on mental health. Goya Cares is providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly. That includes the viewing of the Goya Cares Press Pause campaign. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse, and bullying among our most vulnerable, the children, teens in our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following 15-year-old Sofia Rodriguez as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce, set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection, which is so difficult, so damaging in high school. It introduces the Press Pause campaign, promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sophia leaving a note saying, quote, "You matter," for a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sophia's transformative realization of her right to seek help through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness. Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting one's community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. Great job. Great job, Goya. Great job on Thanksgiving as well. Thank you. All right, now, today's Truth Bomb. All right, we just wanted to do a quick truth bomb today because we're all about the truth, uncensored, of course. And we love this idea. I've, as you know, massive football fan. Again, I'll say it again. Bet on the teams who are playing the Giants and the Jets. You're 9 wins, 1 loss since we've been talking about it. 9-1. Do it again this weekend. Jets are going to lose to to Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. I can't remember who the Giants are going to lose. I guess the Dallas Cowboys, right? It's a Thanksgiving Day. So just do it. Once in a while you lose one, but you're going to be well off. Here's why I'm mentioning this. Since this happened, it's really pissed me off. When they took the Redskins name off of the Washington Redskins football team, it was disgusting. It was a woke thing to do. And Dan Snyder was the owner at the time. He's a very good conservative, but for some reason he caved to the pressure and they went with the Washington Commanders or something. I don't think I've ever uttered that word. I called them the Washington football team since they pulled Redskins off. Well, now Senator Steve Daines says it's time to bring the Redskins logo back and call them the Redskins again. Steve Daines, good for you, good for de-wokeification of America, all because Donald Trump won this election, folks. There's so many things. It's a ripple effect. There's so many things that are happening because Trump won the election. People can stand up and say, screw you, Commanders. You're the freaking Redskins, the Washington Redskins. And by the way, you had a good chance to make the playoffs this year. Good job, Redskins. We're going to call them Redskins from here for the rest of the season. Truth bomb, folks. You know, today there's a story of redemption. It's one of redemption and forgiveness, actually. And whether or not you're worthy of either of those things, let's get into it. We begin our story with a glaring example of someone totally and completely unworthy of either redemption or forgiveness. As I watched clips from Joe Biden's speech last weekend, I saw a man who has learned nothing. He actually stood there and said that America is better off than it was before Joe took over the Oval Office. Watch this, behold.
One thing I've always believed about public service, and especially the presidency, is the importance of asking ourselves, have we left the country in better shape than we found it? And tonight, I can say with all my heart, the answer to that question is a resounding yes, because of you.
Wow, if that's not bad enough, the king of disinformation stood on that stage crying crooked crocodile tears as his wife, not a real doctor, Dr. Jill Biden, gave him an undeserving tribute. This woman, by the way, Jill, Dr. Jill, who single-handedly helped with the biggest and most disgusting cover-up in our nation's history, Jill changed his diapers and walked him off and on stages, desperately tried to mask what was already so obvious to most Americans. He was hurt. He was gone. He was demented. Joe was obviously in serious and in quick decline. That onset dementia was real, and yet she not only didn't push for her husband to step down for the sake of the country early, they could have done it. No, she also demanded that Joe Biden stay in the presidential race, did interviews on national television claiming that Joe Biden was in the best physical and mental shape he's ever been in. I know history won't be kind to Dr. Jill Biden. It shouldn't be kind to her either. History also shouldn't be kind to every single person complicit in one of the worst and most treasonous cover-ups this country has ever seen. Shows in countries all over the world depicted our president falling over, stumbling, trailing off, forgetting where he was. But they did so to make fun of him and us. They did so in comedy. But actually, it's not the funniest thing in the world. It's the worst thing in the world for this country, to make fun of us because our leader was that in decline. Because every single thing Joe ever did in his 4 years as president, or didn't do for that matter, has left this country far worse, has left this country broken, more woke, on the precipice of a World War III. And by the way, we have a couple of weeks till Joe steps aside officially. He's doing everything in his power to get us into World War III. A reminder, once again, he's still president. He's still there. And his fake tears, it won't make us forget what he did to this country. Never mind the family corruption, the questionable family ties to foreign countries' governments, and adversaries in the name of filling Biden coffers, bank accounts, and building globalist power for himself and the family and Hunter. All we have to say to remind you, Afghanistan pullout. And looked at the watch during the funeral of our 13 service members, to define what a piece of garbage President Biden really is and was. All we have to say is Inflation Reduction Act that raised inflation to levels never seen before. No amount of his tears, these fake tears he's shedding now, will bring Laken Riley back. None of his tears, the fake crocodile tears, will bring back the billions and hundreds of billions given to foreign countries over our own military members here who are starving and homeless. Joe gets no forgiveness from me, ever. I don't care how sad he looks. And he's still there. He's still the holder of the nuclear codes, folks. Let's remember that. He's still the commander-in-chief, still taking naps at the White House. On this, we can all agree we're more thankful this Thanksgiving than we have been in a very long time, at least 4 years, that we've had our government agencies trying to control us into not even seeing our family and friends because of COVID, which didn't actually matter at all. Actually, so-called members of the scientific and medical community going on national television suggesting COVID testing our relatives before they even enter our house. And then, after all that, still forcing them to wear a mask for the whole family. No, he's not worthy of our thanks. Joe's not. He also had we had a president who caused the prices of literally every single morsel of Thanksgiving dinner to spike exponentially. Butter, milk, bread, turkey. Not every American family has been able to afford to make a dinner thanks to Joe and Joe's socialist ways. Thanks to the massive inflation his policies and spending had created, only to then laugh in Americans' faces, gaslighting and pretending that their problems aren't as big as they think they are, certainly not worthy of any thanks. No thanks, Joe. But the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline is one of the most irresponsible and dangerous acts this country will ever witness. And I don't think those words are strong enough to convey just how bad it really is. Shame on them. It'll go down in history as one of the worst and most treasonous dupes of the American people. The myth perpetrated that Joe Biden is okay. He's not okay. He's not been okay. And newsflash, he's still the freaking president of this country as we speak.
Hello. I've just been told I've been fired. What they do when they tell us, they set a time, how long we're going to be somewhere, and then what they do is they close all the roads. The Secret Service does. And if you want to lose all support for the Coast Guard and no one will ever vote for me again, I better get the hell out of here. But thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your service. Thank you. I really mean it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joe is a train wreck. Joe can't even pardon a turkey properly.
According to experts, Peach weighs 41 pounds and loves to eat hot dish and tater tots and cross-country skis. You know, dreams to see, but the real dream he has is to see the Northern Lights, I'm told.
That vegetable can't even pardon a turkey without insulting swaths of Americans, yet he's allowed to consider major foreign policy acts in the midst of an extremely precarious and dangerous situation globally. Joe can't pardon a freaking turkey without messing it up, and yet he's allowed to consider a policy to allow Ukraine to have nuclear weapons again. Why is Joe allowed to even speak, to dictate any policy when he couldn't even manage to campaign to run for president? And just as importantly, when do those who covered for Joe get held to account for it? Jill, mainstream media. There are people out there talking about not seeing their friends and family members who voted for Trump over the holidays. Punishment for those who voted to save the country by bringing true American values and prosperity back. Can you imagine those Thanksgiving dinners? I would go the other way. If we're doing this, I would say that those who defend a man with dementia holding the nuclear codes or voted for a woman who's so freaking clueless, brain dead, Kamala, and who's learned nothing including not to do a drunken rant like this. Be careful. Watch.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
I mean, drunk? Like, what? It's time for her to go away, by the way. You want her? That's your Democrat. That's your 2028 leader right now. One of the recent polls. She's the spot-on favorite right now. Bring it on, J.D. Vance. Bring it on. Bring it on, Governor DeSantis. Bring it on, friends. But another perpetrator of one of the most vile cover-ups in our history, I know that Joe Scarborough couldn't possibly have believed these words as he uttered them.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years.
He's cogent. He's cogent. No, seriously, he's cogent. Well, no, he's not. He's absolutely not cogent. And how dare he and so many others literally lie to Americans' faces, trying desperately to convince us that what we're seeing and hearing with our own eyes is not actually the case. That's literally the antithesis of journalism, Joe. That's the full-on state propaganda. It's lies on behalf of the state. Joe defending Joe. No forgiveness. What a despicable era of governing, of journalism. What a disgusting stain on this country they perpetrated. But because we like to try to end things on a positive note here and in the spirit of the holidays, because I told you that this was a story of forgiveness and redemption, and just to show America that there are signs that we are headed in the right direction, I bring you the other side to all of this. Forgiveness and redemption where it is deserved. I always knew this moment would come. When those who are on the side of rightful questioning, those who question the irrational insanity that came with the pandemic, those who history will show were on the right side of the matter as opposed to the likes of Joe Biden, who seeked to use the pandemic to destroy the economy and control the American people. You had doctors, scientists questioning the mandates, questioning the lockdowns. I'll give you one for example, known very well. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya was one of those people in the face of the maniacal, diabolical flip-flopper, Mr. I Am Science Fauci. You had the likes of Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who opposed the draconian lockdown, said so on television, and for that, he was unfairly criticized, treated badly, even ostracized as a doctor and shunned. It's actually crazy to think about that for a second. That suggesting a different opinion based on science and facts could destroy our career, your life. That's the stuff of totalitarian regimes. That's the stuff of North Korea. That's the stuff of Orwell. Well, here's a story of redemption. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya was selected to head the NIH, a future of opportunity to make so many wrongs into rights, to restore faith in our three-letter agencies, and to make a real contribution to healthcare in America. Good for you, Dr. J. Forgiveness? Well, given that the headline from the BBC, in which they just had to add COVID lockdown skeptic to the headline, well, we can only expect the leftist media machine to refuse to give up on their COVID propaganda. After all, doing so would mean admitting that they lied to us. They were wrong, but they lied to us. That natural immunity should have been respected and considered. Right, Rand Paul? Dr. Rand Paul? He was on top of that. But redemption, very much needed and very much deserved so for Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. Congratulations to be in the Trump administration cabinet. On the very opposite end of the spectrum, crying Biden. Spare us your tears, please. This man campaigned in 2020 on healing the soul of the nation, claimed he was saving America from the evil clutches of Donald Trump, the core of that Democrat obsession. In 2022, he stood in front of red walls and did an actual impersonation of a fascist dictator, fist pumping in the air, angry, tried again to drum up his battle for the soul of the nation. It was dark. It was divisive. Nancy Pelosi had delivered the Scottie Pippen assist, slandering MAGA as insurrectionists, like what we did there with Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. And Joe Biden took it all the way to the courts, talking as if he were president heading to war, a war against half of America, a war against you and me, all of us on the side of right and on the side of history. That war he waged was on half of America, on us. It was personal, and we all felt that. It was a battle for the trust of the American people, played out in our media, in social media as well. So here's what I'm thankful for today. Our redemption, our forgiveness, the right side won, the wrong side lost, and a brighter future is ours. All right, something I want to expand on just a little bit is the image of Kamala Harris after her election defeat. She finally broke her silence and gave her supporters a whole 29 seconds to hold on to. This certainly doesn't look like the same woman who ruined California. She looks nothing like the lady who was proudly appointed border czar almost 4 years ago. She doesn't even look like the woman in her official headshot anymore, does she now, folks? If this isn't enough to keep you away from the bottle, I don't know what is. As it turns out, relentlessly lying can age you pretty darn quickly. I want to go back to this pathetic video address. I got to ask, I think so. It's my opinion. I'm allowed to do it here on digital. Couldn't do it on mainstream media. You think she was drunk? I don't know. The internet
Never let
certainly
anybody
thinks
take
so.
your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did.
So that was on at Kamala Harris' expense on the internet. She's holding a bottle of Hennessy. All right, folks, have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. We'll put something up for you. That's it for today on Wednesday. Bolling out.